price of freedom is death. We're coming to get our check.
Black first, my brothers and my sisters. Welcome to the Afro Elite YouTube channel. I am your host, Afro Elite. Okay, before we get started, please make sure that you guys hit your subscribe button, hit that notification bell, all of that. All of that helps the reach and the growth of the channel. Let me make sure everything is out. We're starting a couple minutes late. I had to reset my computer. So you know, we're a couple minutes late. I'm not sure I might have to get another webcam, to be honest. I'm saving up because sometimes my webcam be doing something, it be switching the colors up or whatever. So it has this tint to it, but it's okay. We'll make it work. Yeah, didn't mean to do that. Hold on. We'll make it work. Nah, turn it down, to be honest with you. So, brothers and sisters, it's Black History Month. So I feel like this is the pivotal month. This month, but beyond all other months, is probably the best month to have this conversation. The conversation that we're having is the fact that, shout out to everybody in here, the conversation that we're having is the fact that we're seeing a lot of misrepresentation in media, especially when it comes to Black film, Black TV shows, and all of that stuff. And a lot of shows, a lot of Black shows are being canceled. Let me show you guys. We're going to read a little bit of this and we're going to walk through it and we're going to explain it. Hold on. Let me show you. This show right here. Okay. It was supposed to be a show for, I don't know. I never watched it. I honestly don't know anybody who's watched this show. It's called Rap Shit. That's what it's called. And other canceled Black TV shows that deserve a second season. So there's a long list of shows that are Black TV shows in Black media that people are saying, hey, why is this show not getting a second season? Let me make this a little bit bigger necessarily. Or, so why are these shows not getting the second season that people feel that they deserve? So it goes to say here, it says, from Martin to Rap Shit, which I'm very surprised that they compared the TV show Martin to Rap. Now, I don't even want to keep saying that, to Rap, shit, but okay. That's what they're saying. Black TV shows have grasped our attention in ways that seem to stick with us for eternity. You're going to say that show, Rap S, has gripped us in a way that sticks with us for eternity. That's very interesting. It goes on to say, there is a long list of Black series that have been crafted for us and provided pure enjoyment, knowledge, and entertainment throughout the years. Black TV has achieved outstanding popularity, spanning from a gripping drama, from the gripping drama of 50 Cent's Power Universe to the hilarious Emmy award-winning Orbit Elementary. I know about 50 Cent's Power Universe. I don't know about the Orbit thing. I don't know what that is, but okay. And it might be good, I guess. I don't know though. But unlike those shows, there are plenty fan favorites that have been hit with cancellation. At the beginning of the new year, an uproar rose over unjust cancellations of current beloved Black TV shows. Currently X, which is Twitter. Okay, so we know, because remember they changed the name. Okay. So it says currently X users expressed their disappointment when it was announced that Issa Rae's HBO series Rap Shit was canceled after 2 seasons. It says, quote, you're seeing so many Black shows get canceled. You're seeing so many executives, especially on the DEI side, get canned. And when they say DEI, they mean diversity, equity, and inclusion. You're seeing very clearly that our stories are less of a priority. Ray told digital program, Ray told digital publication Porter about the cancellation. It's made me take more steps to try to be independent down the line if I have to. This led to a discussion about black TV shows that have been canceled prematurely and deserve a second season. Is second green light. Okay, there are some of the recent TV series that were canceled, and networks left fans to start wanting more. So what they're going to do right here is now they're going to start listing a lot of TV shows, black TV shows that they say were canceled and they deserve a second season. Now, mind you, the rap shit show, I feel uncomfortable cursing now. I used to curse so freely. Now I'm feeling uncomfortable doing it. That show, uh, it already has a second season. It was canceled after the second season. They said, well, we're not going to greenlight a third season. That's what it was. All right. So they're saying this show, okay, we're not gonna go through all of it. We're just gonna read about this because this was really in the title. This says in January, Max, which is HBO, Max announced that Issa Rae's comedy drama TV series Rap Shit has been canceled after 2 seasons. Many fans mourned the rap duo departure. Really? Okay. While others went on a frenzy, sparking a topic about canceled black shows trending all over X, formerly known as Twitter. The show follows a Miami-based female rap group, Maya McKellen and Shauna Aya Osman, as they journey to the top of the hip hop industry. The premise is loosely based on the popular rap duo City Girls, who also serve as co-executive producers alongside their quality control manager Kevin Coach K Lee and Pierre P Thomas. Okay, so that's the premise of the show. We don't really need to get too much into it or whatever the case. I'm gonna be very honest with you, and this is no diss. I've never seen this show, and I'm gonna be very honest with you, gonna be very frank. I don't know anyone who has seen this show. It might be a really good show. It might really be a good show. You might see it and like it. I might see it and like it and be very impressed by it. Okay, but it's not. It's been canceled, right? So then they're going to go into other TV shows that we're going to be talking about. They're going to go into other TV shows. And to be very honest with you, a lot of these other TV shows that they're going to go into, with the exception of like a very few, I don't know. And I not only do I not know these TV shows, I don't know a black person who does know these TV shows. I don't know a black person who actually cares about these TV shows that they're talking about. I really don't, to be very honest with you, but we're going to go through the list. All right. So we have Wonder Years. Be honest, I don't know about Wonder Years. I've never heard anybody who says anything positive or negative about Wonder Years. Okay. I just don't know about it. Didn't hear about it. I did hear about this show. I guess it was canceled. I don't know anybody who watched this show. Winning Time, the rise of the Laker dynasty. I assume he's trying to play as Shaq. I assume he was trying to play as Shaq. I mean, I don't know. Or maybe Kobe, but no, I don't know. Okay. Flatbush Misdemeanor. Correct me if I'm wrong. Have you all heard of these shows? Magic Johnson. Okay, Magic Johnson. Thank you. Iron Will. You see, this is how I know. And I see our brother Sage in the chat room too. This is how you know I don't know about that show. And it might be a good show. I'm not trying to diss the show, but it might be a good show. But we're going to get into why these shows are failing. All right. Flatbush Misdemeanor. I'm gonna be honest, and I'm not a super big series person. There's a couple of series that I really, really like, and I'll explain that a little bit later. But I have not even heard of this series. Blind Spotting. Is this a? I want you guys to look at what they're calling a black TV show. Look at this. This woman looks kind of Hispanic. She might be like half black or ambiguous. She don't look like a full FBA. She might be. This is clearly a white man, and this is a little kid who looks mixed. This is what they're calling a black TV show. Does this look like a black? I don't know what this is about at all, but this look like a black TV show to you? I don't know who's the main character. It could be the kid or whatever, but if you told me that this kid was a Latino instead of black, I would promise I would believe you. But this is what they added in the black TV show spot. Okay. That's what they added. Get Down. I think I've heard of this show. I think this was some type of dance show or whatever. It's a musical drama. I don't know anybody who's watched it. It might be good. I heard of it, but okay, it was canceled. Okay. Underground. I heard of this show. Don't know nobody who's watched this show. And we're just going to go, and I'm not dissing none of these shows. Southside, I don't know what this show is about. I never heard of it. We're not dissing any of these shows, okay? Grand Crew. Is it just me? Is it just me? All of these shows who are being canceled. Now, it might just be the fact that I don't be looking for new series to watch or whatever the case is. I'm kind of picky with the series that I like to watch because there are some really, I think, good series that I really enjoy. But I haven't heard of it, and I don't know any black person who's seen these shows. Maybe they have, but I don't know. Raising Kanan. I've heard of this show. This show was about a black boy who has superpowers, but the main character is his single mom. So a lot of these shows, and this is another reason why a lot of these TV shows are getting canceled as well, because a lot of these TV shows have a lot of propaganda in it. A lot of these shows do. Now, I'm not dissing a lot of these TV shows, but I'm trying to get to why it's important and what the element is that's missing in making some of these TV shows successful. All right. I've never heard of this show. Kindred. This is a white man and this is a black woman. She looked like a damn slave. This looks like a slave owner. I don't know what this show's about at all. Okay. Just based off the look, I'm like, she got a black eye. He's that's a turn off to me. Truth be told, I'm seeing Gabrielle Union. That's just a no for me. Any show with Gabrielle Union being a star, it's a no for me. Girlfriends. That was actually a successful show. Now they're putting this in a category of shows that didn't get a second season. Do y'all know this show went on for 8 seasons? This show was very successful. They didn't have their final season. They didn't conclude their final season, or for whatever reason, there's difference of opinion about their reason. But the show Girlfriends had 8 seasons. So I would doubt that it was canceled prematurely. This was a relatively successful show. Okay. Lovecraft. I did hear about Lovecraft. I actually saw a couple episodes of Lovecraft. And the show was good. Everybody I know who's seen this show says it was a good show. Okay. The show it only had 1 season, won a lot of awards. A lot of people said that the show Lovecraft was canceled because they didn't like the racial direction, because the show was a sci-fi show, but the show also spoke on a lot of racism that made the white audience pretty much feel uncomfortable for the most part, because the show was just popping. So it's like it's too sci-fi and it has a racial element to it, so they didn't like that or whatever the case is, so they canceled it. But from everybody I know who's seen Lovecraft say they liked it. And I'm gonna be honest, I liked a couple of the episodes. I'm gonna finish watching the season, but I liked a couple of episodes that I saw. So those are shows that were canceled, right? So getting back to, okay, why are all these shows being canceled? I feel like, and I'm gonna be very honest with you, these shows are being canceled because there's an art in our culture. This is why our culture is so significant. This is why our culture is so significant, because there's a certain art that we can understand in our culture, not just the actors, but the actors, the producers, the executive producers. All of this can understand our culture in a way that makes a TV series, whether it's a comedy, whether it's a drama, whether it's a film, anything that can connect to us in a different way. I'm gonna give you a show that I really like. It's a show, it's called Godfather of Harlem. The Godfather of Harlem. It's by, well, it's not by, but Forrest Whitaker is playing Bumpy Johnson in the show. I love that show. That's a great show to me. And I think the show, because the show has 3 seasons right now, and the show's it's greenlit for a 4th season. Okay. That's a really good show. All right. Because the show, and even there might be some inaccuracies. We have to understand all of this is controlled really under the system of white supremacy. So there might be inaccuracies in everything, but the show does hit on a good point when it comes to Bumpy Johnson being a foundation Black American, the executives, the co-hosts, and all of that, and they can touch on an element in a specific time frame of our culture that is missed. And I'm gonna show you another thing. It's being reseasoned in March. Okay, good. That's a little bit away. I can't wait for the 4th season. That's a really good show. That's a really good show. One thing about it, before we get into it, one thing about it, the character Malcolm X is in the show. He's one of the main characters in the show, but he's not the main character. In my personal opinion, I prefer the Malcolm X from the first 2 seasons. In season 3, they changed the character. They didn't change Malcolm X, but they changed the actor from Malcolm X. And he's not bad, but it's a sense of like spirit and charisma that the first actor had, I feel, that the second actor doesn't. And I think he's good. He carries himself well. He's very calm, you know what I'm saying? And he carries himself well, so I'm not dissing him. But there's a certain spirit, like almost a cultural spirit that the first actor in the first 2 seasons had. And a lot of people dislike that because he had a certain, like, he got into the character, and we're going to get into that. He was able to get into the character in a way that the one from the 3rd season couldn't. And not, no diss. I don't think he did bad. No diss, but a lot of people weren't feeling that. Okay. We're going to get into another thing. Now, our brother, he talked about this before. Where was it? Hold on. Oh, okay. It's right here. Now, we're going to look at this. All right. It says, a few thoughts about British actors playing Americans in African American roles. All right. Shout out to everybody in the room. I appreciate all the cash apps and the Zelles and the super chats. Before we go, hold on. Let me acknowledge this super chat real quick. Shout out to our good brother Christopher Ellis. He sends a $20 super chat. Thank you very much. He says, these Black looking shows don't resonate with FBA freedmen, American citizens. They don't. And the films as well too. That's why a lot of people like, oh, we're being more culturally awakened. So we're really embracing the richness of our culture. And when we see something that's supposed to somewhat represent our culture and it doesn't, it hits in a way that it didn't used to. Now we're like, oh, we want that richness in the films and in the shows that we're not having. So thank you very much for that. And Samuel L. Jackson, he acknowledged this. All right. Let me, because the font is kind of certain. I'm trying to zoom in a little bit. Hopefully you guys can see it a tad bit better. Now it says Samuel L. Jackson made the news for something other than his acting 2 weeks ago. In a radio interview on Hot 97, he talked about Jordan Peele's Get Out movie. And its movie Get Out. Oh, hold on, no, I just read it. And its star, the British actor Daniel Kaluuya. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that word right. Daniel Kaluuya. It says, quote, I tend to wonder what would that movie have been with an American brother who really understands that in a way, because Daniel grew up in a country where they've been interracially dating for like 100 years. Jackson said, what would a brother from America have made of that role? I'm sure the director helped, but some things are universal. But everything ain't. So what our brother Samuel L. Jackson is saying is that in this role, Daniel Kaluuya, who's not FBA, but he's playing an FBA. And I'm not even going to say he did bad, but there's a thing of doing bad and then doing great. And we're really going to dive into why it's so important and why what Samuel was talking about is so very important, because when you understand the culture, when you understand the people, because let me pause this for a second, because I really want to connect with you all when I talk about this. When you understand that, when you understand the culture, the people, when you grow up in an FBA household, when you have a bunch of FBA friends or whatever, and this is not a diss, but let's really understand this. When you grow up in that environment and you get to hear your family speak in a certain way, your family move in a certain way, you can see it and develop it. So when you're in a certain role, you can understand and feel the character better. You can somewhat become and replicate the character's thought patterns. You're not just reading off of a script and they say, okay, you have to say this or do this. You don't need to be coached because it's really in you. All right. That's why when you want to get somebody, for instance, sometimes they get people who are from the military to play military roles, because they understand in the military you talk a certain way, you stand up a certain way, your posture is a certain way, you communicate a certain way, your body language is a certain way, that it would take a while, and it can be done, but it would take a while to train somebody to do it versus having someone who has that military hold on, I apologize, who has that military experience, who's in that role. There's a lot of people who might be from the South and they can mimic a New York accent, but they're not from New York. It's better to get somebody from New York because they're not mimicking the New York accent, because sometimes it's not just the accent. It's not just the accent. It's how often they use certain phrases, the tone of speech, the volume of speech, the body language while they're talking, the ideology that they're thinking. And that's what a lot of these British actors, which they're trying to flood the zone with, that's why a lot of these things are failing, because they can't connect to that. They don't get that. They have not lived that type of life. We have, and we're really going to get into that deeply. That's why certain roles and certain characters we are able to connect with and resonate with and really become, and they can't. They're boxed in and they're just reading a script. Instead of reading a script, we can memorize and we can actually improvise. We're really going to get deep. We can improvise in a script. We can say, you know what? I think this character should say this. It's not in the script, but let me say this. Let me improvise. They say yell or something like that. Some characters might yell. Some characters might scream. They feel it. They can improvise. They understand the character way better, way better. Before we get into it, I say we have a thing where every 100 viewers, we leave the 100 emoji. We're almost at 200. So let's leave everybody in the chat room right now. We gotta flood the zone with the 100 emoji. So everybody in the chat room right now, we need like a whole bunch. We need to flood the chat room with the 100 emojis. Okay, I see you, Don. Appreciate you. This is the importance of culture in the film. So as you guys are flooding the zones with oh, and we're going to get to Malcolm X and we're going to get to Denzel Washington because I got a bunch of clips to show why he was able to master that role. But let's get into the thing that Sam is talking about. Okay. Now it continues to say, going down, Jackson went to mention Ava DuVernay's Selma, where he played Dr. King. Okay, he played Dr. King in the movie Selma, and wondered how the role of Martin Luther King might have been interpreted differently by an American actor rather than David Alua. See, David Alua is not FBA. He said he is English and Nigerian. He's English and Nigerian. All right. So he doesn't understand. Like, there's a certain thing, even if he loves Dr. King, and even if he's a good actor, there's a certain spirit that he can't tap into because he's not from here. He's not from here. He didn't grow up with every single year Dr. King Day and listening to his speeches, and they're teaching about him in class, and your grandparents and all that stuff, and your parents are talking about him on the regular basis. He didn't grow up in that. And I'm not necessarily saying I know exactly how he grew up, but he didn't really grow up in that. He didn't really understand that. Okay. So when you're not understand, when you didn't grow up in that, you don't understand that, you can't connect to it fully. So Sam is not dissing, because a lot of people's all like, oh, why is Sam dissing these actors? Sam is not dissing any of these actors. He's saying that there's a cultural connection to these people in these roles, not just replicating a character like MLK, but also just a Black American in general. There's a cultural connection to these roles that these British actors aren't hitting on. English actors, English and British actors aren't hitting on. These non-FBA actors aren't hitting on. All right. It continues to say, there are some brothers from America who could have been in that movie, Jackson said. I greatly admire Selma, yet I, too, found Oluwa's British mannerisms to affect the performance. See, he's not just talking about the accent, but it's all not just the accent, it's also how you carry yourself in that role. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., he didn't just speak in a certain way, he moved in a certain way, he walked in a certain way, he communicated in a certain way, he would shake people's hands in a certain way, he would answer questions, he would wait, and he would pause. It's the whole thing about it. You have to be the character, and that's something, and I'm not even dissing, but that's something Alua can't do because he's British, and that's his first nature to speak that way and move that way. So it continues to say, asks why British Black actors get so much work in Hollywood. He said, they're cheaper than us. They're cheaper than us. This is what Samuel L. Jackson said. They're cheaper. It's not because they're better. It's not because they went to class and they went to school and they just know how to act and how to cry. And it's not because of that. They're cheaper. They're Black and cheap. They produce less quality work. They do. because there's not a British or English equivalent to Samuel L. Jackson. There isn't. There's not a British or English equivalent to Denzel Washington. There's not a British or English equivalent to Angela Bassett. There's not a British or English equivalent to some of these roles, to these people. There isn't. But they're cheaper, even though they produce less quality work. They're cheaper. It says, after ensuing laughter, he added, and they think they're better trained for some reason than we are because they're classically trained. A few days later, Jackson clarified his remarks in an interview with Vanity Fair. Black Americans don't have the opportunity to go to the UK and see if they can adapt a British accent in work. They do restrict us in an interesting sort of way. We're not afforded that luxury. That's what I'm trying to say. Now it says, there are a couple of distinct matters at stake in Jackson's remark, though neither has much to do with the Get Out, which Jackson said he hasn't seen. The first is the matter of fairness and other. So this is really this is really them kind of attacking him for that. Okay, he hasn't seen it. It doesn't matter if he hasn't seen it. I saw it multiple times, and I'm not saying whatever his name is did bad, but if he was FBA, he would have did better, and I stand on that. The issue, he says, these issues are both substantial, both have been in the air for a while, and Jackson's remarks merely crystallized them and brought them to the fore. All right. It says, it's obvious to nearly everyone today, as it didn't decades ago, that it's important for roles in movies to be played by actors whose ethnic background is close to that of the character. And all the more important when the characters in question are members of minority groups who have had their stories told on films, if at all, mainly by white filmmakers, and their roles often interpreted by white actors. That's why Emma Stone, though one of the best young actors around, was utterly miscast as part Asian, part Hawaiian woman in Cameron's Crow, Iowa, whatever. Okay, so essentially we're getting we got past that part. Now we got 200, y'all. We got 200, so that y'all know what that means. We got to flood the zone. We got to flood the zone with the 100 emojis. We got to get the zone with 100 emojis. We got to fill that up with the 100 emojis. So let's get that done. But why? And I'm gonna tell you why. What Samuel said was so important. All right. Let me pull this up real quick. This video, and this is when I saw this, I'm all like, I have to make this broadcast. And I've been wanting to for a while. I really have. But when I saw this clip right here, I had to make this broadcast. Okay. Let me pull it up for you guys. So our sister Teslin Figaro, she was able to record this. Now, if you guys don't know, there's been a new 2-part like mini series about Dr. Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. And the women who are playing Betty Shabazz and Coretta Scott King are having an interview. Now, both of them are non-FBA, and they're having an interview about their roles. So listen to what they have to say. Before we do that, let me play this just to make sure we don't get in trouble. Copyright disclaimer. Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. Right. Okay, so here's the thing. Here we're gonna play it. We're gonna see what's going on with it.
I love this angle, looking at really the personal lives of these two couples, of these four individuals. Wade Ruche, I'll start with you. What did you learn about Coretta Scott King, about the relationship that you brought to light in this?
Oh, I learned so much. I'm British, so we don't actually have that much information, and it's not taught about Martin Luther King or Coretta Scott King or Malcolm X or Betty Shabazz. And so when I got this job, it was a wonderful opportunity.
First off, first thing I want to say is, really? Why? Why are you not taught that? Just why? Okay, but and see that's why FBA is sitting up there whooping y'all ass, because y'all don't care to learn. Okay, because I'm pretty sure I'm gonna be very, very honest with you. I'm pretty sure there's more FBA who know about Marcus Garvey than non-FBA know about Dr. King. I'm gonna be very honest with you. But look, okay, let's listen.
Coretta Scott King or Malcolm X or Betty Shabazz. And so when I got this job, it was a wonderful opportunity to completely educate myself and be part of the process of educating a new generation and the next generation about Coretta Scott King and Martin. Mm-hmm. I think especially the women have been sidelined a lot in the civil rights movement. And so
and here she goes with the kind of gender stuff. Here she goes with the kind of gender, and this is another reason why they bring certain tethers and play certain tethers in certain roles, to be very honest, because the women have been sidelined. Coretta Scott King was not sidelined to Dr. King. Sorry. Betty Shabazz was not sidelined. Okay. So it's this whole thing of where the women were working and doing just as much as the men, but nobody appreciated them because they were women. That's propaganda, because that's not true. Betty Shabazz did not feel that way. Coretta Scott King did not feel that way. None of these women who were with these men at all ever felt like they were sidelined by their husband. None of them did. But the people who are playing these roles are saying, well, these people were so sidelined. Let's take this back.
I think especially the women have been sidelined a lot in the civil rights movement. And so I think that was definitely a highlight for me, to be part of highlighting the women and their contributions to the movement. Absolutely.
Okay. Now, see, this is the problem. Now, besides the agenda thing, the first thing is the whole, well, we've been sidelined. Oh, okay. You have not been. Women in the movement have not been sidelined, okay? We, as Foundation Black, I'm going to be very honest with you, because a lot of people like to pull this whole gender divide thing, and they like to bring up how the women in the movement had to take a back seat to the men, and it was all about the men, and the women's contributions to the movement was underappreciated. I'm going to be very, very clear. There is not a single group of people in the world who gives more credit to the women in their community than foundational Black Americans. Not one. I dare anybody to come up and try to say anything other than that. We are the only ones who hold our honorable women to high esteem. Yesterday was just Rosa Parks' birthday. I saw a whole bunch of people. I said something about it. I saw a whole bunch of people showing her respect. You know what I'm saying? We got a whole bunch of people showing Harriet Tubman her respect. Ida B. Wells, there's monuments of these women. In no other community, period. In no other community at all do you see any monuments of the women, of them upholding the women of any sort of high esteem. You can't go to the Hispanic community and see them uplifting a female icon in their community the way we have done to Harriet Tubman or to Rosa Parks. You can't go to the white community and find a white woman that they hold, their community and culture holds to a same level of esteem that we do to Sojourner Truth. You can't go to the Asian community and find a woman in the Asian community that they hold to with such respect and reverence as we do to Ida B. Wells. You can't go anywhere else, and anywhere, not even, I'm gonna be honest, not even in Africa, not even in Africa or the Caribbean, can you find women being held to the same degree in respect and reverence that we hold Betty Shabazz or that we hold Coretta Scott King. You can't find that. Or the women in the Black Panther movement. You can't find that. Ashada Shakur, you can't find that anywhere else. So the narrative that foundational Black American men hold our women to the back burner and we don't acknowledge our women's accomplishments. I'm not even talking about just the civil rights movement. I'm talking about women who accomplish anything from Madam C.J. Walker. Okay, we can talk about all of these women who have done these things. We hold women who have done righteous, beautiful actions to esteem that no other men hold any of their women to. First off, they don't have as high quality of women. Let's just be very clear with that. But they don't hold none of them. None of them. They don't hold to that level of esteem. So the narrative that the women in the movement are held back and the civil rights movement was about the men and no. We respect a lot of these men because these are the people that the government said needed to be assassinated and was. COINTELPRO assassinated a lot of these brothers out here who were doing all this good work out here, okay? So we're not, and I'm going to be honest, we can't sit here and be disingenuous about certain work. We can't act like Dr. Martin Luther King and Coretta Scott King were doing the same work. We can't sit here and we can't act like that. Let's be honest. Let's be very honest. We can't act like the same sacrifices Malcolm X was making was the same sacrifices Betty Shabazz was making. We're not going to sit here and act like they were doing 50-50 work, but we just promoted Malcolm or we promoted Martin because they're men. No. But even though we know that these men made greater sacrifices, we still acknowledge and respect the sacrifices that their wives have made. Okay, that's why we still speak highly of Betty Shabazz and we still speak highly of Coretta Scott King. We still speak highly of those people, those women. All right. So that rubs me the wrong way when they say that. Shout out to another super chat from Black Logic, our good brother Black Logic. He says, powerful broadcast, brother B1. Thank you very much, brother. I appreciate that. Oh, and we just getting started because I ain't even shown you all of the clips yet. All right. Then she talks about, I'm British. I didn't understand the role. Well, that's the thing. That's the thing that Sam was talking about. You guys are hiring all. How did you even get the role if you didn't know the character? You didn't know Coretta Scott King, Martin Luther King. You didn't know Martin Luther King or Coretta. You didn't know Betty Shabazz or Malcolm. How did you get this role? How did you get this role? Okay. Unless somebody deliberately picked you for this. How would you even get this role? Because it's not like you went in the audition and you just killed the game. You didn't even know these people. This is the thing that Sam was talking about. These people don't have the cultural connection to it. All right? They don't have that. This is why when Denzel Washington was playing Malcolm X, directed by Spike Lee, who was also a foundation Black American, along with his wife, who was played by Angela Bassett, who is also a foundation Black American. That was the perfect combination to make a legendary movie. All right. These people come over here. I'm going to show you something else before we get into those clips. These people coming over here, and the reason why a lot of these films, like for instance, the Harriet Tubman movie, the reason why a lot of these films flop is because the people playing these roles cannot get into the character. The reason why the Harriet Tubman movie flopped is because they had Cynthia Erivo playing the character. If they had a respectful foundational Black American woman that they have, I can promise you there are foundation Black American actresses that would have killed to have that role, to play it on the big screen. But they deliberately gave it to the disrespectful Cynthia Erivo. Let me show you something. And this is why the movie flopped. Let me show you this. All right. When we say these people don't get our culture, and then not only don't get it, go out of their way to disrespect it. Look at these tweets real quick. Okay. Now, this is her quote tweeting Cynthia Erivo, and don't represent African Americans. Read, okay. Toni Morrison. It says, "Oh, darling, all of these presumptions, sorry, I don't know why. All of these presumptions is you who believes you are a representation of all African Americans. That's incorrect." Okay, this is her going back and forth with a foundational Black American. Look at this one. Okay, I suppose I really make an attempt to record signal. I don't know what this is about. And then it says Cynthia Erivo or attempt to sing to the daily. I don't know what this is about. But then she says ghetto American accent. That means foundational Black American. That is what that means. Ghetto American accent. Baby, you know I'ma sing it too. So now she's trying to do the whole ghetto thing, which is really to mock Ebonics that they come over here and try to do. I'ma sing to you, but I still gotta. So she's misspelling words. I still gotta do what you wanna do. You feel me? Scene. So this is her trying to low-key mock foundational Black Americans in our verbiage and how we speak and how we pronounce the English language. As she's sitting up there playing an iconic foundational Black American, Harriet Tubman. This is another one. Okay. How can you say this with assurance when you aren't a Black woman in Britain? She's Black from Britain. This issue doesn't just pertain to reality TV. This is one of those issues where you listen and learn. Okay. Okay. Now, are you seeing this? You're seeing this. All right. Hold on for 1 second. It's kind of freezing up. 1 second. Now, let me show you something. Now, we're going to go on to the next one. My mouse was kind of freezing up. Now, this was something that she retweeted. She didn't say, but she retweeted. Wrong. This is so wrong. Some people that will shout racism at a white man, not realizing how damaged they are themselves. It's not new that some African Americans are jealous of Africans in the U.S. Example, this person. And this is what Cynthia Erivo was retweeting, y'all. This is what she was retweeting. So, when you look at this, and we're going to take this off, and then when you look at, and I'm going to show you this, when you look at the box office for the Harriet movie, okay, it didn't even reach the box office. This is Harriet gross 43.1 million in the United States and Canada. That's a little less than $1 million. In other territories for worldwide total of 44 million plus 4.8 million with some household sales or whatever the case is. It says, what was the budget? So we're going to go down for the budget. The budget was 17 million. This movie was really a flop. Now let's go to the ratings. Harriet movie. Okay. Going to go to the ratings because a lot of people did not see this. A lot of people didn't see this. A lot of people saw, look at these ratings are poor. When you see a whole bunch of people saying this movie was a 5, it really wasn't. Most of these people didn't see this movie. This movie flopped. This movie was a big, huge flop. It was a disrespectful flop. When you're looking at the budget, this movie didn't against the budget of 17 million, which a lot of people have to understand. Budget is one thing, and then you have an advertisement budget. the advertisement budget also gets accounted, not just the studio budget, the advertisement budget as well too. 44 million, it could have made a lot more than that. It didn't make nearly as much as what they predicted. Now, when you had Birth of a Nation, when you had 12 Years a Slave, that made over 100 million. Over 100, almost 200 million. And Harriet Tubman didn't make that much. Now, let's look at other movies. Harriet movie box office. So let's look at Malcolm X movie box office. Okay. Now, Malcolm X movie box office budget. Now, this was back in the 90s. Okay, this is past inflation and everything like that. It made nearly the same amount of money all the way spanning 2 decades before. 2 or 3 almost decades before. $33 million. Okay. And it's being regarded as, now let's look at the ratings too. It's regarded as one of, ratings, as a legendary movie. And what is it somewhat profit? Now, to be honest, look at this. And then the box off, this is just the movie actually being made there. You know, not okay, let me not say that again. This is just the showing. Then also all of the performances and stuff like that and the DVDs. This is a phenomenal. Look at the ratings here. This is a much better success. This movie was a success and the other one wasn't. In order for a movie to really make any profit, it needs to make around about 3 times as much movie. The Harriet movie flopped. It did terrible. It did poor. And I'm going to show you, and that's the reason why. Because first off, Cynthia Erivo was disrespectful. The movie was full of propaganda. And she could not connect to the character. Let me show you why the Denzel Washington movie was. Okay. Starting off with this scene right here. Everybody's seen this part where Denzel was talking about, it's not about the race, it's about culture. And that's similar to what Denzel was talking about. But let's go a little bit. A lot of people don't know what was said right before. All right. So let's listen to this.
I think that's the way characters come to you when you're an artist. If your spirit, your imagination, your skill, your brilliance is open enough, they come into you and you either accept them and hear them and listen to them or you don't. And he did.
So August Wilson could write for a woman.
So what she's saying is that it's not a script. It's not a script, okay? What she is talking about is the fact that it's about you learning the character and you being somewhat a part of the character. And you really getting into the mind frame of the character and letting the character live through you, essentially. And then this is what Denzel follows up with when the interviewer asks her the question.
And he did.
So August Wilson could write for a woman.
One of the things he said is just what Viola said when I was up there with him. I was asking, well, how do you go about it? He said, well, I lock the doors and shut the windows and do everything. The characters come in the room and they talk to me and I write down what they say.
It's powerful. And that's
so what he said is that the characters, he said he writes the script, but he doesn't sit up there and write the script and have everything be so I don't want to say so it's script like. He allows interpretation. He allows people to feel the character and become the character. Okay? And we're going to play other clips about why the movie was so successful, but I wanted to start off with this one.
the gift. So why did he need a black director? Could a white director not have?
It's not
produced this
color,
work?
it's culture.
Explain the difference, because I think we're in a
Steven
space right now.
Spielberg did Schindler's List. Martin Scorsese did Goodfellas, right? Steven Spielberg could direct Goodfellas. Martin Scorsese probably could have done a good job with Schindler's List, but they're cultural differences. You know, I know, you know, we all know.
Now, right here, he's not just talking about the cultural differences in black people. He's saying every group of people have a culture. Every group of people have a culture. It's not just because we're foundational black Americans and we don't want nobody else playing our roles. No, It is a cultural thing. White people do that with other white people. That's why when you make a movie about like some Italian history, you will want an Italian director, an Italian, at least the main character, the main couple of characters won't want to be from that. If you make a movie about British people, you will want a British person to play that, or at least to direct it. It's about the culture thing. Every other people understand this. So it's not us hating. And this is what Denzel is trying to explain.
What it is when a hot comb hits your hair on a Sunday morning, what it smells like. That's a cultural difference, not just a color difference.
Right.
So it's the culture.
You know about a hot comb? So now
No, she don't know about no hot comb. You don't know nothing about. See how everybody laugh? That's a cultural difference. That's not a race difference. That's just that motion. That's all I gotta say, right?
I know what a hot comb is.
Okay.
All right.
And this is why he was able to do so well with the Malcolm X character. All right. Now I'm gonna play some interview clips from when Spike Lee and Malcolm, when they were doing the Insider about, and this is like from the 90s or whatever. He can understand that, because somebody who is outside the culture, they don't understand the hot comb thing. They don't get that. They don't understand that. They don't know what that smells like. There is certain food that we eat, they don't know really what it tastes like. I'm not an actor, but if I was, I couldn't go to Nigeria and really understand what it's like growing up eating jollof rice. And I'm not disrespecting them, but I don't understand that. I've eaten a jollof rice, of course, but I don't understand what it's like growing up eating that, growing up listening to the music that they listen to, wearing the clothes that they wore, people celebrating the holidays that they celebrate. Okay, I know what it's like for Thanksgiving time, and all of us can understand this, right? We know what it's like when it comes to Thanksgiving time, and our families is making a bunch of dinner, and then it's always something. You're low on milk, you're low on butter, low on eggs. You got people cooking the same day. We know what it's like. And then the morning of Thanksgiving, everybody is rushing to the stores. There's a bunch of long lines and stuff like that. We can understand that. We can understand our grandparents tell us, hey, we're cooking, everybody get out the kitchen. We can understand that. Now, when you see white TV shows about Thanksgiving dinner, you got the kids jumping on countertops and running around the table. Everybody in this chat room know that's not how our household, and even if you celebrated Thanksgiving, you know that that's not how your household was working, whether you celebrated Thanksgiving or not, or any holiday or not. You know for a fact when your parents, when your grandparents, when they cooking in the kitchen, ain't no running through the kitchen. You stay out the kitchen. We understand that. Okay, we understand what it's like to smell the food, and you wanted to get in, you want to take a little piece, just a little piece of fried chicken, like the whole plate, it's a plate with a paper towel under the plate, and you want to just grab one piece and you run off, and nobody's gonna notice because there's so many pieces. We all understand this. Okay, I'm not saying nothing that nobody know. You take one little piece, be all like, I'm just take one from the side, and they're not gonna know if I take it from the side and it's still piled up and it's still just as big. And you take it from the side and you run off and you eat it, and then your mama all like, who took a piece of chicken? And you thinking to yourself, how does she know a piece of chicken is missing? It's like there's no way she could have counted. She just visually looked and be like, there's a piece of chicken gone. Who was in this kitchen? We understand that. And you sit up there and nobody want to say anything. Nobody want to tell, or whatever the case is. But you're like, it was just one piece of chicken. How does grandma know that I took that piece of chicken? We know that. That is a part of our culture that they're not going to be able to get. They're not going to be able to get that. Okay? We know what it's like to be all like, if you want dessert, you better finish all your food and your vegetables too. Okay. There's other communities like, I don't really like vegetables. I don't like peas. Well, okay. Okay, Connor, you don't like your carrots? That's okay. You want some apple pie? How about some apple pie, Connor? You like that? Oh, you don't have to eat your broccoli. You know what I'm saying? We got kids, they sit up there with a fork. I don't really like. That's not how we work. That's not how nothing was going in our house. We was like, okay, if you not getting off this table till you eat all your food, okay? And if you get off this table, don't complain about being hungry. No, because you didn't want it. We know that is a part of our culture that we can understand. So when we playing in these roles, we get it. We can feel it. We don't need to read a script about what our life was like growing up. We can understand that. So we're perfect for these roles. When these British people come over here, they don't get that. So they're reading it. They don't have the same reaction. They don't have the same emotion, and they can't project that onto the screen, whether it's a TV show or a film. They can't do that. Okay. We know what it's like for our uncles to come over here or whatever the case is, and then just started dissing everybody, and everybody's laughing at it. We know that. Okay. We understand that. There's a whole bunch of, and I'm just talking about the household stuff. I'm just talking about the household stuff. All right. We there's so much stuff that we know. There's so much we know. When you go to other people's, I'm gonna tell you something else. Okay, and everybody in the chat room can understand and relate to this. We know what it's like to, when you on your way to your auntie's house, when you on your way to your grandma's house or whatever the case is, and you know your parents give you that speech. Because this happened to me. When you on your way to your family's house, to another person's house, and your family has to, in the car, give you a speech, you better not embarrass me. Don't be sitting up there asking for nothing. Don't be making no noise. Don't be sitting up there acting. Look, listen, you all know it so much. When we were going to other family members' house, we couldn't act like we was hungry. If food came to the table, we would have to eat it. We couldn't just chow down on it. We couldn't do that. Our parents used to tell us, hey, don't go nowhere and act like we don't feed you at the house. We understand that part. That's our code. We understand that. Don't go nowhere and act like we don't feed you. You know what I'm saying? Don't be doing too much. Because they know when we leave, they know it's gonna be like, I don't really think she's feeding. She probably needs some help. That baby look kind of skinny. We know that. We don't need to look at a script in a piece of paper to learn what to say. If we don't see it on the piece of paper, then we're going to add that in because we know that's what the character would do. Okay, that's the richness in it. All right. Now, we have other clips, right? We have other clips. Listen to this.
Not all of them, but we got his best speeches. Not all of them, but we got his best speeches. We pulled them out and we put them in the script. And when we were doing these speech scenes, he would come to the end of the text and I wouldn't say cut up, keep on going, and Denzel would continue for another 5-10 minutes. There's Malcolm verbiage coming out of his mouth. And I was finally say cut, and Denzel would be spent. We had this blank stare in his face, and he said, Spike, we said, couldn't remember what he said. That's the type of spiritual, thing that Denzel was working on this film.
Okay. Listen to what he says right here and why it's so very important. He says, of course you had a script. Of course you have lines. Of course you're all like, okay, this is the Malcolm speech that we're going to be saying in this movie, and you need to cut it off at this line. But he's saying a lot of times when it's at the end of the script and Denzel, at the end of his lines, Denzel has become the character to such a degree that Denzel was able to carry on what the character would say beyond what his lines were. That's what Spike is talking about. Beyond what his lines were, he was able to feel the presence and the spirit of this character so much that beyond the script, Denzel is still going. He's still going. He's still in character. This is stuff that British and English actors and non-FBA actors can't do, especially when it comes to our icons. They can't do because they're not culturally connected. All right, let me play another clip.
If someone is held back for a long time, just in physics, if you're holding something back, when you let that thing go, it's probably gonna fall straight down. I think he is, as much as any other African American, with the exception maybe of Martin Luther King or that people that we know about, he was able to pick people up to get them out of that position. He was a wake-up call. He was someone who was able to change the balance, to make people think about themselves in a new light. If you're taught, if you have been taught for years, hundreds of years, that you're an animal, that you're worthless, that you're nothing, then you'll start to believe what you're taught. But he began to make people think about who the person was that was telling you you're nothing.
See, in this, and I'm playing this clip to show you how well Denzel understood who Malcolm was as a person. He was able to understand, and this is what made him. It's not like this is a character. Malcolm X was not a fictional character. He was a real person who really exists, who really had thoughts, who really had emotions, who really had feelings and an ideology. And he was able to learn who that person was. So that's why when they said action, he was able to become that character. This is why the culture is so significant, because Denzel Washington did not just say, okay, well, here is a script. I'm supposed to read the script and play this role, and I'm going to just do my best. Denzel said, you know what? Let me figure out through and through who all he was, who this person was, left and right. Also, Spike Lee did his research too, so he can direct a movie and he can highlight some of those aspects of Malcolm's life and of Malcolm's journey into who he became at the end. And he was able to put that in a film coherently, because Spike Lee is also a foundational Black American who understands that culture as well. All right. Shout out to our good brother Panther Strike for the $25 super chat. He says, brother Afro Elite, the FBA experience is hated by failed immigrants who fled from failed communities like Cynthia Erivo. He's 100% correct. From Idris Elba to Michael Blackson, they'll never outshine our people. No, they won't. They won't. They won't do it. They can't do it. They can't become these people. They can't become these people. I want to show you something else. Another clip as well too. This was an interview that he had. This was some years ago. It wasn't all the way back in the 90s.
You know, ignorance is bliss.
This was some years ago. All right. About him talking about being Malcolm X. Now, he's joking. He's joking a little bit, and he's kind of, he's doing an interview and he's kind of being a little funny with it. But he, right here, if you really pay attention to what he's saying, he understands the character, right? Listen.
You know, I was like, when did we start?
Yeah.
You know,
Great.
and
that's a great way to be.
And because it was Spike,
Yeah.
I had the freedom to fail, to try anything.
Mm-hmm.
I would put speeches together. They just kept loading the cameras.
Mm-hmm.
I kept.
Now, this is him, and shout out to Spike Lee, because Spike understood, as a foundational Black American, he understood the power in this character. So that's why he knew Denzel was the perfect actor for it. And shout out to also Angela Bassett, because he knew that was the perfect character for Betty Shabazz. He was able to pick the perfect cast for these characters because he understood that. And he allowed these characters to breathe and to grow into these characters. And that's what made the movie so masterful. I'm gonna take it back a couple of seconds.
Just kept loading the cameras. I kept talking. I talked anything. White shoes. Oh, that's the black man is trying to get on top of the white man. And he tries to muzzle us with those socks. That's the black man that he's strangling from every side. So it's our job to turn that white man, you can just go on and on and on. And look at that table. That white table, you just... So you could, I would learn all of his speeches and just go.
Wow.
and Spike just kept loading the camera.
Fantastic.
Now, that is very important. You hear what he learned all of his speeches, and in other interviews he said he studied Malcolm X well before he was cast for that role. And this is why we say the culture is important, because Denzel wasn't like, who is Malcolm X? I ain't never really heard of that name before, but I'd love to get the role. Denzel was not like that. Angela Bassett was not like that. Angela Bassett was like, Betty Shabazz? The name don't ring a bell, but I'd love to be cast as Betty Shabazz, even though I don't know who she is. That's not what she was like. That's not when Denzel was like. When Spike Lee was trying to get the movie, it's not because he didn't know who Malcolm was. They were trying to do their best to pay homage to these characters because they knew these characters. And when he got the role, he studied the speeches and the mannerisms of these of Malcolm, and that's why he was able to speak like him in the way he used to speak. Right there, when he was just talking, Denzel just instantly got back in character. Okay, he was able to learn. Okay, even if Malcolm didn't say this on paper, what would he say? How would he feel about this? What would he answer with that question? What questions would he ask? He was able to understand this, learning his speeches, watching his videos, learning how he would comport himself, learning how he would carry himself, from the way he dressed to the way he walked to the way he spoke to people, the way he interacted with people, the tone in voice he used to, not just what he used to say, the way he used to say it, the tone in what he used to say, the way his mind would connect when it comes to certain things. I'm gonna play it back just so you can hear how important what's crazy about this is that in this situation, Denzel is being serious, but he's also being kind of jokey. He's also kind of playing about, the shoes, and the white man is up the, he's kind of telling a joke as well as really explaining the character and the mentality of the character.
Is trying to get on top of the white man. Talk anything. White shoes. Oh, that's the black man is trying to get on top of the white man. And he tries to muzzle us with those socks. That's the black man that he's strangling from every side. So it's our job to turn that white man,
Even if, and I wanted to take it back one more time just to hear, because you can understand this, mind you, this is decades after he played Malcolm X in 92. Actually, the movie came out in 92, so he was playing Malcolm X before that. The movie came out in 1992. So this is decades after that. And just by being asked, he was able to really get back into character. That shows you how much of the character really resonated and became him. Not just what he used to say. Anybody can say, there's a white shoe over there and there's a black shoes and you have white shoelaces, but for him to be able to pronounce it in the way and convey it in the way Malcolm probably would, the tone of speech, how long he would hold certain words, the type of words he would elongate and highlight or say louder than other words. Just listen to the mastery of the craft that he had with it.
To fail, to try anything. I would put speeches together. They just kept loading the cameras. I kept talking. I talked anything. White shoes. Oh, that's the black man is trying to get on top of the white man. And he tries to muzzle us with those socks. That's the black man that he's strangling from every side. So it's our job to turn that white man, You can just go on and on and on. And look at that table. That white table, you just, so you could, I would learn all of his speeches and just go. Wow. And Spike would just kept loading the camera.
Fantastic.
No disrespect to white people or sneakers.
So Denzel is, he's saying it, but he's also, he's being jokey, but he's not, he's telling the truth. Shout out to Spike and Spike did get robbed. All of them got robbed of their performance. All of them got robbed of their performance. And that's one of the reasons why the mainstream media doesn't like to really highlight how successful and iconic that movie was, because of the fact that movie was a phenomenal success. Okay. Prior to that, and shout out to Spike Lee for that, because prior to that, and Spike Lee said in an interview, Malcolm was seen very differently than what we know of today. A lot of people who grew up in like the 70s, the 80s, after Malcolm passed away. Okay. I was born after the movie came out. Okay. So this is when I was born, people had already been seeing that movie. So people had already felt that feeling of Malcolm X. Did not experience how people felt about Malcolm prior to that movie. But Spike was able to say, prior to this movie, people had negative thoughts about Malcolm X. People thought that Malcolm X was a radical. People thought that Malcolm X was an extremist. People thought that Malcolm X was crazy. People thought these things of Malcolm X. So one of Spike Lee's main jobs was to kind of show the true, pure image of Malcolm. That was one of his biggest jobs. That was one of the things that he really wanted to do while he was creating the movie. And he did do that. And because of that, because of the movie, which was a lot in many ways, not just a film, it was also anti-propaganda. But because of that movie that Spike Lee, who was a foundational Black American, directed, people were able to see Malcolm from a light that they have never been able to see him in before. Okay? They've never been able to see it like that before. All right. And people had a lot more respect from seeing Malcolm in a truer, because of course you're never going to be able to put everything in a movie. There's no 8-hour movie, but in a truer sense, in a more pure sense, in a less tainted, I'm not going to say purely, but a less tainted sense about who he was as a person and the things that he went through. All right. This is why really, and there's been multiple iterations of Malcolm X since Denzel, but none of them have been able to really hit like Denzel was. And it's not just being biased, it's because we have not seen anybody else dedicate themselves to the character, to knowing who he was prior and having that respect and reverence, and then trying to master that character more than him. We haven't seen that. And we see that not only just with Malcolm X, and I wanted to use that as a prime example, but we see that with other foundational Black Americans who play certain roles. Okay. I'm going to be honest. When Jamie Foxx played James Brown, there's certain mannerisms that he was able to do. When Will Smith played Muhammad Ali, okay, we can play all of these. Now, none of them, in my opinion, were as significant and powerful as Denzel playing Malcolm X, but other characters were able to play. He played Ray. Oh yeah, he played Ray. My bad. He played Ray. Well, he was able to play these characters. Okay. Ray Charles. I said James Brown. My bad. I apologize for that. Ray Charles. He played Ray Charles. My bad. Okay. Even some of the sisters who play some of these characters. Okay. Angela Bassett, who's been robbed of Oscars for years, was Jennifer Hudson, who I think in a recent movie played Jennifer Hudson. What was the name of the movie where she played Whitney Houston? I think it was something like that. I don't know. Maybe it was Respect. I think it was. And Whitney said, "I want if you guys make a movie about me, I want her to play that movie, to play that. I want her to play that because she can connect to the spirit that I was able to live." And they had like a little non-FBA woman try to make that it was Aretha Franklin, right? Oh, I'm getting my names really messed up right here. That's why I love y'all. Aretha Franklin, not Whitney Houston. My bad. Aretha Franklin. When Aretha Franklin she handpicked her. She handpicked her She didn't say, I want her to look like this or be like this. She handpicked her specifically because she knew there was a connection there. And Whitney Houston was able to play that role better than anybody else who tried to, because there's been multiple people who've tried to play that role prior to her. All right. Somebody brought up Chadwick Boseman. When Chadwick Boseman has played a couple of historical figures. He played Jackie Robinson. He also played Thurgood Marshall. Okay. Do you guys know when Chadwick was cast for Thurgood Marshall, Chadwick actually didn't want to take the role, and I saw this in an interview. He didn't want to take the role of Thurgood Marshall because Thurgood Marshall is actually light-skinned, and Chadwick is not light-skinned. So he's all like, he felt like he wanted somebody to be more, to look more like the character than he did. He wasn't thirsty. He played James Brown. Okay, he played James Brown. Okay, y'all understand. Okay, he played James Brown. He was able to get into that role. Our brother Chadwick, okay, the late brother Chadwick, he was able to get into that role. Okay, in even with Thurgood, he was all like, I have so much respect. I don't want to disrespect by being thirsty for the role. I want the role to be done correctly. He was able to do it correctly, but he was reluctant because he's all like, I'd rather it be someone else and done right than be me and done wrong, because he had that respect for the character. He had the respect for the character enough to understand the mannerisms and the speech and things like that of James Brown. I just said his name, Jamie Foxx of Ray Charles, okay? And Whitney Houston of Aretha Franklin, and Denzel of Malcolm X. When people understand and master these roles, or Forrest Whitaker of Bumpy Johnson in the TV show Godfather of Harlem. This is why these shows mean so much and matter so much, and this is why these things are legends, literally, in the community. This is why the culture of these things really matter. The culture of these things really, really matter because of this. And a lot of people are missing this because you can't just cast somebody who might be black. I'm going to be very honest with you. I think that Idris Elba can act. There is no way he could have been Malcolm X. No way. No way. He couldn't have been. He couldn't have been. There's no way he could have been Ray Charles. I don't know if he can sing or anything like that, so I'm gonna pick some. There's no way he could have been. He couldn't have been MLK. He couldn't have been these roles because there's a certain connection that you have to have with them. And even if these actors were able to get a script, just like what Sam is saying, yeah, you might be good. Daniel Kaluuya, whatever. You might be good playing Fred Hampton, but if he was FBA, if he was a Black American brother, he would have been a lot better, because you understand, listening to, you can kind of speak like him, but then what would he say? Not just speaking like them. How would he move? How would he stand up and command a room and all? How would he do that? You don't get it. You can't get it. No disrespect. You couldn't get that. Okay. This is why we say it's so important for our people to be representing our people, especially in these significant roles. All right. So it's not a disrespect. It's not really a disrespect thing. I'm not saying that Idris Elba can't act. I'm not saying that Daniel Kaluuya can't act or David Oyelowo can't act. I'm not saying that. These brothers can act. These brothers can act, but they can't outact us. They would do a lot better trying to act in their own culture than trying to imitate our culture, because you guys are limited to a script. You are limited to lines on a page. Denzel was not limited to lines on a page. Okay? He was able to look at the lines and said, I feel what this character is about to say. I can go beyond what you write down. You can put 100 words on this piece of paper and I can give you 200 words worth of speech. That's mastering the character that a lot of these TV shows, a lot of these films, they don't get. They don't respect that. All right. That's why you're seeing flop after flop after flop after flop, because there's a richness in our culture that they don't appreciate. They don't get. They're infusing a lot of these tethers. I'm going to be honest. They're infusing a lot of these tethers in with the non propaganda, anti-black propaganda, just like the one lady who played Coretta Scott King in the movie. Oh, well, the women in the movie, they were, and I saw the first episode. There's 2 parts. I saw the first episode. I'm gonna be very honest. I didn't like the way she played Coretta Scott King. I didn't. I only saw the first because there's 2 things, and I wanted to give her a chance. So I'm gonna be honest. I saw the first part to the MLK/X. I didn't like her, Coretta Scott King. I'm gonna be very honest with you. I didn't like it. I did not like that. Okay. She couldn't do it. She couldn't do it. And then the women are showing up. No. See, you couldn't do it. There's a richness in our culture that they're missing and they're not getting. And this is why it's important to understand this so we can be emboldened by it. It's not unfair. White people would do it with other white people. If you want a British movie that feels British, you're going to get a British actor. You're going to get a British director. You want something that's Italian, you're going to go to Italy. You're going to get an Italian director, an Italian actor, at least the main actor, okay, who understands that. All right? They have to understand these things. So, no, I did not. I'm going to be honest. I was not impressed by her role. And then when I see the whole, well, women are under, no, they're not. In comparison to who? In comparison to who? No, they're not. And then you come off with propaganda. This and that's another thing, because we're becoming so enriched in our culture and enriched in our history. We're rejecting all forms of this propaganda. So when people come up with this gender divisive propaganda, we're automatically just turned off from that. We're more turned off from that when it comes to films than we've ever been. That's why The Color Purple. That's why The Color Purple, that was just there, all this millions of dollars of budget, flopped. That's why it flopped. Okay, because we're becoming so enriched in our culture, in our righteousness, in our moral ideology. When we see propaganda, we're like, I'm not going to see it. Never mind. That's not only why that flopped, that's why The Woman King flopped. It flopped because we saw the propaganda from a mile away. That's why Harriet flopped. We saw that propaganda from a mile away. They don't even talk about Harriet. I can tell you, when I went to the Hidden History Museum last year, and when I got to my hotel, the movie that was playing was Malcolm X, Spike Lee's Malcolm X. I see that movie all the time being played on, cable shows. I see that movie all the time, all of the time. They're constantly playing that movie. I ain't seen one single time I turn the channel, I see the movie Harriet anywhere. I don't see that nowhere. I see the Malcolm X movie all the time. Harriet, not once. That they try to portray it as if this was some phenomenal success. It wasn't. I don't see The Woman King being played anywhere. Don't see it nowhere. It's not even on pay-per-view. You couldn't buy it. You'd have to find that little movie because of our culture, and that we were rejecting everything. So when we talk about films and the accuracy of certain films, this is what we want. And we're not settling with anything less, at all. I'm a little upset that Viola Davis did that as well, too. I am. I'm sorry. You know what I'm saying? Some people, you forgot they even did a Harriet movie. See, that's what I'm saying. It's passable. It's forgettable. You'd forget they even did it. Nobody talks about that movie, plays that movie, or anything like that. It's Black History Month. We got people playing that the Malcolm X movie over and over and over again. You don't see nobody talking about the Harriet movie or the Woman King. You don't see nobody talking about that. Okay. It's and that's because they don't understand it. Spike Lee did, and that's why Spike Lee made a cultural phenomenon success, which is Malcolm X. He understood it. He understood the elements in it. That's why he was able to do it, and he won. So we have to understand and appreciate and respect our culture. We really do. So with Black History Month going, just remember this and feel this. Okay, when you see that Malcolm X movie, you're gonna look at it differently. You're gonna look at Denzel and his mastery of the craft and his respect. That's the main thing. It doesn't even matter how good of an actor you were, it's the respect he had of the character that led him to honor the character in such a way, to bring the character to life in such a way. It's really amazing. It really is, brothers and sisters. It really is. And we've had a very productive conversation. Before we get out of here, Selma, that's another movie nobody talks about. Nobody, I don't know nobody who talks about Selma. You can't flick through the channels and see Selma. You can't do that. Nobody cares about that movie. Nobody. All right. You guys should be following me. First off, before we leave, I need a whole bunch of thumbs up emojis in the chat room. Before we get out of here, let's get the thumbs up emojis popping in the chat room. Remember, we do the 100 emojis for every 100 viewers, and then we do the thumbs up emoji before we get out of here. All right. So I appreciate that. You guys should be, if you guys have not been, follow me on my various social media page, which is Afro Elite on Instagram, and then the Afro Elite on Twitter. All right. The links to both of those are in the description. Shout out to the Cash Apps. Let me see. I want to shout out our brother Jerry. Shout out our brother Jerry for the super chat. I mean, the Cash App. Shout out to the super chats. Shout out to the Zelles. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you very much, family. Thank you so very much. I appreciate every single last one of you guys. We have a culture, and we're going to promote our culture. We're going to enrich our culture. We're not going to let anybody else disrespect our culture. That's why all these other movies keep flopping. In the 90s, they were able to make all these movies, and they were cultural successes. When James Brown did, well, not I said James Brown. When Jamie Foxx did his thing as Ray Charles, cultural success. People still watch that movie. People still watch when Will Smith did Muhammad Ali. People still watch that. Okay, people still watch when our brother Chadwick Boseman did James Brown. People still watch that. People love when Jennifer Hudson, when she did Aretha Franklin. People love that movie. Okay, and those movies are eternal. They never get old. They never die. All right. So much respect. All right, it's Black History Month. We have to respect our culture. We have to respect when Angela Bassett, we were just talking about Angela Bassett, how she did Betty Shabazz. She also did Tina Turner. People really can't say anybody can do Tina Turner better than Angela Bassett does. Anybody who does now is just going to be like, Angela did it better than you. Angela did it better than you. That's how anybody who, I feel sorry for anybody who tries to come after our sister Angela Bassett and do a Tina Turner. I feel sorry for him. Honestly, I do. I really do. But y'all know I can go on for a whole nother hour. So let me wrap this up right here and say salute to every single last one of you guys. Y'all make sure you guys follow me on my various social media pages. Also, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. Make sure you guys hit that like button. Make sure you guys hit that share button. Hit all of those. Everything. Hit all of those. Okay. That helps significant reach and growth of this channel, because this message needs to be spread out. people are wondering why are all these shows being canceled, and I just explained it. I answered the question right here, because you guys do not respect the culture enough, and the culture is now rejecting you. All of these TV shows that are being canceled, that's because, for the most part, a large part is because you guys are being rejected. All of them, or for the most part, most of them. So we understand that. Now, brothers and sisters, I appreciate you all so very much. We had a very good live tonight. I think this is one for the books, honestly. Shout out to every single last one of you all. You all have a good one. Happy Black History Month, of course. Also, too, I'm wearing one of these shirts to say this weekend, and for every other weekend, we're going to be having a sale, and I'm working on new merchandise. So we're going to have a merchandise sale coming up this Thursday. This Thursday for the whole weekend. We're going to have a merchandise sale. So we're going to have this. I'm working on new designs that are going to be popping up and everything like that. Is going to be, I think this sale is going to be 20% off. I believe so. Because we have different sales coming up left and right. So you guys catch that. Thursday. I will announce more details. So you guys make sure you guys subscribe to that. Catch that, so you don't want to miss on Black History Month, supporting the Black business. You don't want to miss that. All right. Now, with that being said, my brothers and sisters, be one salute to every single last one of you all. You all have a good one.